Death to the Jews. That's just one of many slurs the owner of Ofra's Kitchen says is on the rise, ever since she decided to put this flag of Israel up on the restaurant window to stand in solidarity with her family and her nation in Israel after the October 7th Hamas terrorist attack on the country. I'm Drea Humphrey with Rebel News. I'm going to go inside and speak to Ofra about what she says is a rise in constant hate day to day as she tries to do her job and how it's also affected her business. But I'm also going to ask her why, despite all of that, she's still proudly bearing this flag.
Even the thought behind it, how could a person do this to another person despite political issues?
All right, Ofra, thanks for being on Rebel News. I wish it was for a happier reason, but you've had this restaurant for 4 years, just before the pandemic. You went through that, and now tell us a little bit about what you've been experiencing since you put up the Israel flag.
Thank you for having me, sweetheart. And thank you for making the effort to make my story known. So 3 years ago, there were some issues in Israel. And my restaurant got death threats. I got death threats by a phone call that said, I will rape you, I will kill you, and I'll chop your body, all in Arabic. So I called the police and they investigated. They were really good at it. It took them a very long time, but finally they found that the guy was a 15-year-old kid from Montreal. He was never here. He just randomly picked up a name and just called it. And then there were protests in the area that were done by one of the restaurants here. And I became the target then too. Things got better in Israel, a little quieter, so it got a little quieter here. October 7th, fast forward. Massive murder, mass murder in Israel. Even the thought behind it, how could a person do this to another person despite political issues? Of course, I felt really bad because I'm here and my family's there and I'm having la vida loca and they're suffering there. And I can't go there because I don't have the means to go there. If I did, I would probably just pick up and go, that's it. But I couldn't, and I had to do something. So first of all, in support of my country, my people, I put the flag and definitely the posters of the kidnapped, which it's ranged from 6 months old all through old people, 85 and 90-year-old. And since I put that flag, I start getting backlash, like threats. People walk in and say, shame on you, putting an Israeli flag at the window. All of you should be dead. You murdered 10,000 children. And they just throw numbers like this, what they hear in the news, which are just numbers. And where is your Palestinian flag? And even yesterday, somebody he went and he ripped the posters. You see the tree there with the posters? He went and he ripped them off. And he was so angry. I see it in the video because I have cameras. So angrily, he took it all off and it has Vaseline on it.
He really worked at it.
He really worked at it. And so he went to my neighbor and he said, this is your pictures? And she says, no, it's my neighbor's. And he asked her, why don't you have a Palestinian flag on your window? She says, because I'm Iranian, I'm not Palestinian. And he says, why doesn't she have a Palestinian flag? She says, because she's Israeli. And if you want to ask her question, she's right there. Go ask her. I didn't see all of it. I didn't see him ripping the paper. I did not see him talk. I didn't see anything because I was preparing food. I open on Wednesdays. I open at 1:30. He came to the door and he tried to open it. And I thought he's just a customer. So I didn't pay any attention to him. A minute after he left, my neighbors came and told me the story. So it's something that happens here constantly. The police is aware of most of the things that happens to me. They come here, they take a report, and they go. A guy left a terrible message on my machine. In it, he said, you should all die, you should all burn, bad stuff. So I let the police listen to it, and they said that they're going to go to his home and arrest him.
So they know who he is.
Yes, because he called me from his phone. He called a whole bunch of time. I answered the phone, and then he just bombarded me. And finally, I didn't answer after twice that I answered. The third time or fourth time, I didn't answer, and he left a message. And then when I blocked his number, he called me from another number, from Ontario number, and I blocked that number too. One of the people who are very strongly feel about Israel as well told me that this guy that was here yesterday looks like the guy who left a threatening message on my phone. So it's getting closer, right?
So, with all of that, how do you still show up at work, serve your customers, and keep the flag? What keeps you going in that direction?
Jewish people have a great spirit. You can't break it. It's just impossible to break the spirit. They try 5,000 years. They tried. The Roman, the Egyptian, the Iranian, the Persian, they all tried to break our spirit and got us all involved in other religions or become another religion. Sure, they were succeeding somewhat, but not completely. And our nation becomes stronger and stronger because of our faith and because of our kindness and because of our essence. Here, every day I open the door, I hope for the best. They called to boycott my restaurant. People who see the flag sometimes are scared to go in. So business is a little down, but it doesn't worry me.
Well, this is on Denman Street in Vancouver. I've actually eaten here before, and I know your falafels are amazing. So we'll definitely have the address in the written report. But do you have any final words for people in Vancouver, in Canada, that are very divided over this issue, and in some ways think that, for example, if you stand for Israel, it means that you don't care about civilians dying in Palestine?
Life is important. Our lives, their lives, it's not different. They're both very important. I feel for the children who died in Gaza as I feel for the children who died in Israel. I want you to remember that we didn't start that war. It was brought upon us by terrorists. And because of that, there were so many casualties on both sides. And there were casualties mainly because Hamas uses its people as human shield. We gave 3 weeks notice we will be coming into Gaza by foot. Move the people away. This is where we're going to bomb. They do it all the time. They do it when they bomb, when they come into the hospital, when they bomb places where the terrorists are. They warn women, children, anybody who's not supposed to be there or not a terrorist, move away. But they're not, and that's why there are so many casualties. Also remember the 10,000 and 20,000 and all these numbers that they throw in the air is numbers that are not validated. There is no proof that that's how many died. And I think the media is the number one to blame in what's going on in the world. The media shows one side only, barely and rarely shows any side of the Israelis. It is biased, it is anti Semitic, and it is all about the other side. Please think twice. You're supporting terrorists. You're not supporting normal, regular people. You're supporting people who slaughter children, literally with a knife, slaughter children, babies. You're supporting people who don't care about their own nation. I ask you to look carefully who you support. I'll ask you to remember that the fight against the terrorists is not only the Jewish people fight. It's your fight too. Remember that the world is not scared of the Jews. Remember that when you go to the airport, you take off your shoes and your jacket and your belt and your laptop and everything else, and you put it under the scanner, and then you stand under the scanner. Not because of the Jews, but because of the terrorist. Remember that. Remember it, please, and choose carefully.
The Vancouver police has also said since October 7th, they've seen a rise in hate, a rise in protests. I reached out to the VPD to talk to them, get an update about where their investigation is going with some of what you heard Ofra say in this report. They say they are aware of at least 2 different incidents where racial slurs were reportedly hurled at Ofra's kitchen, and both matters are currently still under investigation.
We've seen an uptick in the number of people who are contacting us who are concerned for their safety. Anecdotally, we've seen an increase in the number of incidents of people reporting suspicious people, hateful speech, and generally a feeling in the community, amongst some community members, that they're feeling less safe than they used to.
If you appreciate that Rebel News brought you this important report, you should check out our other coverage at thetruthaboutthewar.com. And also, there's been many costs involved to bring you the other side of the story with the war. So if you appreciate that too, please chip in a few bucks while you can.